Alright guys, it's good to have you back again. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time of joining, do not forget to click the thumbs up button for this video if you find it very helpful, and also do not forget to click the notification bell and to subscribe to my channel so that when I release new videos you'll be alerted. Okay, so the code I have written today is a code that would help us to demonstrate a temperature converter. So I have written the code using separate functions. Those functions would represent what each temperature converter is supposed to do. I'll run the code now to demonstrate to you how the code is supposed to work. Okay, so when you run the code, it indicates that it's a temperature converter and you're required to enter your name as the user. So I will enter my name as the user. Let's assume my name is John. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so running the code now. Say my name is John. Now it tells me, welcome John. Please select the converter you would like to use. Would you like to convert from Celsius to Kelvin, Kelvin to Celsius, Fahrenheit to Celsius? Okay, so we'll take Celsius to Kelvin as an example. So I would input 1 and then press the enter key. Okay, so it tells me that you selected Celsius to Kelvin. Now how many temperatures do you want to convert? So let's say I have just one value that I need to convert. It's going to tell me to enter the temperature in Celsius. Okay, so let's say I enter the temperature as 37.45. So it will tell me that the temperature, 37.45 degrees Celsius in Kelvin, is 310.600 Kelvin. Now it's asking, do you want to use the converter again? Okay, so let's say I say yes, I want to use the converter again. Now it's going to ask me to select the converter I'd like to use. Okay, let's say I punch in A, for example. What the error it gives me is, please try again. Do you want to use the converter again? So I'll say yes. Okay, so that's what. So when the user gives a wrong input, it asks the user to try again, and then the user is allowed to run the code one more time. Okay, so let's quickly run through the breakdown and see what is happening really in the code. Okay, so the first function we have in the code is the personal information function. Although we try to include stdio, include the math header and the standard library header. Now the reason why I've imported these three headers is because I do not know when I would need to use a mathematical function, because some of the expressions I'll be dealing with are expressions that involve the use of addition and other numerical calculations or computations. So because of that, I've included the math header file. Even if I don't get to use it, there's no crime in that. Okay, so the first thing I need to declare is I need to declare a string. I call it character name. Now the character name is supposed to take in 50 characters as entries from the user. So I do not expect that a user's name should be longer than 50. So that's why I've limited it as 50. Now the first thing it would print is it's supposed to print the temperature converter, and that's what you see displayed here. Then it's going to ask you to please enter your name. Then my scanf here takes the input of the name. Now there is an alternate way of writing the scanf here. I could also write it as fgets. Now if I write it as fgets, I don't need to use the string identifier here. So all I'll write is I'll have name, I'll write the number of values I can take, and then I declare that it is standard input. Now if I run this, I should get the same. So you see everything runs normally without any issue. I'm able to print welcome, the name of the user, with a new line. Now immediately after this gets printed, you notice that the next thing we see is please select the converter you would like to use. Where does that occur? Now to undo that, all I need another function. The function that I'll be using is choice. Now in the choice function, I'm expecting the print function to print please select the converter you like to use, which is all of this list, and then I'm supposed to take in a variable called selection. Okay, so printf selection, that is what this region here is what we have by this printf statement. Now the scanf is supposed to take the input from the user in terms of selection. So if I select 3 for example, okay, so now when I select 3, it's going to say if else if selection equals to 3, it tells me you selected Fahrenheit to Celsius, which is obviously correct as we can see here. It's telling me that I had selected Fahrenheit to Celsius, and then I'm expecting the function Fahrenheit to Celsius to run. If I select 1, it's going to tell me you selected Celsius to Kelvin, and this function is going to run Cel to Kel. If I select 2, the function Kel to Cel is going to run. However, take note that the actual function that is the main function that is running is the function that we have here, the int main function. Notice that for my int main function, my personal info is the first function that is running, and that is why we have this function. That's why we have this output here. Now immediately after the personal info function gets run, the next function we're expecting to run is the choice function, which is all of this. So all of this to this point here is the choice function. Okay, so now the choice function is then calling some other functions based on the selection of the user. So let's examine each of the codes one after the other to see what the selection of the users is in terms of code. So if I select 1, that is I want to convert from Celsius to Kelvin, I have declared a variable called value. I've declared 2 floats called Celsius and Kelvin. I've declared another variable called incount. Now what we'll print is how many temperatures do you want to convert. Now if the user says he has just one temperature to convert, this body of code gets run. But if the user says he has more than one, then we'll see what will happen. Subsequently we'll get to that. So let's assume the user enters the value as 1, that is he has just one temperature to convert. It's going to print enter the temperature in Celsius, and it's going to take the input from the user. However, based on standard knowledge, we know that temperatures, the absolute zero temperature for Celsius is minus 273.15. So any temperature less than minus 273.15 on the Celsius scale is not possible. So the if statement here is actually taking care of that. So if a user inputs a temperature value that is less than minus 273.15, we get the print statement that temperature below minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is not possible. Try again, and then we run the process again. However, if the user gives us a valid input, that is an input that is not less than minus 273.15, the temperature gets calculated with the formula, which is Celsius plus 273.15. Now if the user enters, says no, I have more than one temperature that I need to convert, now here comes our count. So count will start from 0, and then count would run subsequently till count is less than value. So if the user gives us that I want to run 2 different temperatures, that I need to convert 2 temperatures, we'll run the first process at 0, then we'll run the process at 1. So that gives us 2 loops that will take place. And then the same thing that happens when the value was 1 would go ahead and occur. So if you know the mathematical expressions to convert between each of the temperature, that's all you need to replicate across all the other types of converters. Here where we have Celsius to Fahrenheit, just know the relationship. Here we have Fahrenheit to Celsius, and then we have Fahrenheit to Kelvin and Kelvin to Fahrenheit, and the rest. Okay, so let's run the code now and experiment using the first instance, Celsius to Kelvin. Okay, so that's 1. So it says you selected Celsius to Kelvin. How many temperatures do you want to convert? Let's say I have just one temperature to convert at this point. It says enter temperature in Celsius. Let's say I have 37.2. It tells me the temperature 37.2 degrees Celsius in Kelvin is 310.15. Do you want to use the converter again? Let's say yes, I want to use it again. This time again I select Celsius to Kelvin once again. Let's say I have two temperatures I need to convert this time around. Notice, just give me a moment. Let me run the program again because I was always getting to the bottom of the page. Okay, so let's say I have two temperatures this time. It's asking me for the first one. So let's say that is minus 280. Remember I said the maximum or the lowest temperature we can have on the Celsius scale is minus 273.15. So this time around I'm trying to tease the program to see if it takes care of that error. So I'm going to supply a temperature that is less than minus 273.15. So let's say minus 280. Okay, I'll run the most times the online compiler does this, so I would refresh the page again and then we can run the program again. Okay, so we go Celsius Kelvin. Let's say we have 2. Is asking us, so we put minus 280. Now it says temperature below minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is not possible. Try again. Okay, it's asking how many temperatures I want to convert. Say 2. Say that was an error and this is 280. So it says the temperature 280 degrees Celsius in Kelvin is 553.15 Kelvin. Now it's asking me for the second value because I entered that I had two values that I needed to convert. So let's say the second value I have is 37.25. Tells me 37.25 degrees Celsius in Kelvin is 310.40 Kelvin. Okay, so that's what happens in that instance. Okay, yeah, that's about that. So basically that's just everything you need to know. The reason why we're using float is because the reason why we're declaring our variables with float is so as to take care of values that are decimal. So for instance, the user wants to input decimal numbers. If we are declaring the variables as integers, it will totally be impossible to handle float numbers. It would only be able to handle whole numbers and non-numbers with decimal points. So basically this is just everything you need to do in order to run your temperature converter. However, if you eventually want to separate each of these files, a separate file for each of the functions can be created. So I can have a file called personalinfo.c and this will be inside the file. I could also have another file called int_cell2kel and then I put this inside, and then at the end of the day all I need to do is copy each of the function names which are called prototypes. So I put them inside the header file, and then when I'm writing the final function, which is the int main, I would include all the functions into there. I would include all the functions or prototypes as a header, and thereafter I would include the header file in the main function. Okay, that will be all guys for now. I hope to drop more videos often going forth. Do give a thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and do not forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. Bye for now.